in our studio. All right, give me a team that should be calling right now to try and get Bradley Beal out of Washington.
Like I said, Golden State Warriors. I like the move. I'm not sure about Jordan Poole. Klay Thompson has another year in his deal. He's looking for a supermax. Those two pieces, get a guy like Bradley Beal playing alongside Steph Curry with Wiggins, go back all in with Draymond Green, extend that championship runway.
All right, next stop is New Orleans. Should the Pelicans move on from Zion?
No, Greeny. This guy, 26 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4.5 assists. I think he has a generational talent. There's a lot of things you can do around Zion to ensure that you set the tone with him in the organization. We can go through those things, but I'm saying Zion Williamson and the Pelicans need to stay married.
All right, I want to go through those things, but first let me ask you about James Harden. Does he need to leave Philly if he is going to finally win a championship?
I think we should stop talking about James Harden winning championships. I'm thinking more so what James Harden wants his legacy to be. And I'm not saying James Harden is not a competitor, but we put everybody in a mode that they have to win championships like Kobe and like Mike. Maybe James's legacy is to have loyalty back to Houston and get another bag.
Big Perk's list the other day. The big fella is with us this morning from Houston. And we went through a few of these. These are the predictions that he was making. Bradley Beal, you see on there, and Fred VanVleet going to the Sixers, Brook Lopez back in Milwaukee, Harden to the Lakers, and Draymond to the Suns. There are a few of these here, but something you just said about Zion. Guys, be ready, because I'm going to take us to Zion unexpectedly based upon what he just said. But let me start with your talking about James Harden to the Lakers. We thought that was a curious fit. Why do you like the fit of James Harden and LeBron James together?
Let me explain why, G. When I look at, it's not about LeBron James. It's about Anthony Davis. And when we think about when they won the championship, the bubble championship, they had a guy by the name of Rajon Rondo. And Rajon Rondo would get Anthony Davis 8 to 10 easy baskets every single night in the pick and roll. We saw how James Harden was able to transition this season into the point guard spot, and him and Embiid were dominant in the pick and roll together. I believe if James Harden could buy into the role of actually playing the point guard position, it would do wonders for Anthony Davis. Can you imagine the open 15-footers he would get at the elbow or the lobs that he would get at the basket? Now, Jay Will talked about something. He talked about, James Harden wanting the big bag. But now it's about if James Harden would be willing to sacrifice just for 1 year and take a less bag to try to go win the championship. That's the only question. But I think James Harden will be a great fit, and he's a serious upgrade. Like Beyonce, let me upgrade you. D'Angelo Russell. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think any of us disagree with that. What did you say they would have to do? Make a special rule if he were to wind up there?
You see how Jay and I have this one ball, right? Bring in James Harden, you're going to need 2 of these.
You're going to need 2 balls.
He made it clear that he wants to get back to being who he was, which is a primary scorer with the ball in his hand all the time. And that doesn't really fit when you have someone like, especially LeBron James, but also Anthony Davis on the court.
All right, so we can argue about this one all we want. But you know what? Something you said about Zion really, it resonated with me. Because you said, you put up all the numbers, and we all understand the numbers. No one doubts the special qualities that he has. I'm not sure we've ever seen a player quite like him. We talk about Nikola Jokic being one of one. Zion is one of one. The problem is he never plays, and I think there is legitimate fear that that will continue to be the case. So you talked about putting a structure around him that would make it work. Big Perk, what is that? What do they need to do to unlock? What can anyone do to unlock Zion, in your opinion?
Well, one, they're going to have somebody police him and make sure that he's not stacking his refrigerator up, or what I call it, the ice box up with sodas. Secondly, he's going to have to want it. Zion has to learn how to be a true professional. I don't know what else more you could do. You have a hell of a coach in Willie Green. You added C.J. McCollum, who's a great vet. Larry Nance Jr., he's a great veteran, young veteran in the game. But can I go on the rant for a second?
Go.
Because I'm very, very, very disappointed in David Griffin and the New Orleans Pelicans. Yesterday, they parted ways with Teresa Weatherspoon. David Griffin was actually wrong for that, and he knows why. He denied Teresa Weatherspoon on multiple occasions to go and do other job interviews. Chauncey Billups, he wanted her in Portland. The Phoenix wanted her, and he denied her. He let her go through the whole draft workout this offseason, and then all of a sudden you let her go. So now I sense a thing of jealousy and envy. You know why? Because do you know who Zion was the closest to in that organization? It was Teresa Weatherspoon. So now all of a sudden, she didn't get let go because she was bad at her job. She got let go because Zion Williamson actually confided and consulted and trusted her more than he actually do the front office. And David Griffin is wrong for that.
All right, fair enough. But if I can say, and that's a good point, and I'm glad that you made it. Having said that, is there a key to unlocking him? He got the money. One of the ways that one of the traditional methods of motivation has been, well, you're going to have to accomplish stuff. You're going to have to play to get the bag. Well, he got $200 million. They're not taking that away from him no matter what. So at this point, the way you put it, he's got to want it. How do you make him want it, or how do you assess whether or not he's ever going to want it?
Well, you know what? Sometimes trading a player make a guy realize that he can't take situations for granted. And I think that this marriage needs to end. If I'm the New Orleans Pelicans, I'm not thinking twice about this. I would trade Zion Williamson. And once he get traded, you have a sense of embarrassment when you get traded as a player. And I think that would do wonders for him. I actually talked about this with Jay Will yesterday on First Take. I would love to see Zion Williamson in Portland with Damian Lillard. They have the number 3 pick. They have young assets that they actually could trade for him. And then all of a sudden, you go up under Chauncey Billups, and now you have something to prove to the world. You was the former number 1 pick. You was the most hyped player since LeBron James, and they traded you out of New Orleans. Now, that is a wake-up call for Zion. That's exactly what he needs.
What do you think?
Greeny, I give it one more year. And I asked Zion Williamson, do you want to be here? And if he says yes to me, then great. We're going to change up a lot of things. Number one, your nutritionist is attached to your damn hip. And nowhere you go, he's going with you. Number two, family members, friends, they ain't hanging around this organization. They're not hanging at the practice facility. They're not coming to games. You're staying focused. And number three, we're going to set a different standard here. That's how Coach K got Zion Williamson to be the best version of himself. There was a standard. So I agree with Perk on a David Griffin situation because I think they were too loose with the standard. I'm saying it's one more year on a generational type player. He doesn't want to buy in, then you train him.
And he's clearly overweight or out of shape, then yes, it keeps going down because the more I see, the more I don't trust him.
So then what's the value on him right now?
And now I know you're out.
Because now everybody's telling me there's problems with Zion. So now you're going to go to the market. And all these people, yesterday, KP on First Take said, you can't trust Zion. So you're telling me as another GM, I'm hearing all these former players and GMs talk about they can't trust Zion. I'm supposed to trust Zion?
Well, someone's going to have to do it.
Is what you want.
You take that risk on your GM
The Knicks are the
resume.
team everyone always talks about. Would the Knicks do it?
I mean, yeah, I think they have to look at that. You have to. There's a CAA relationship as well. But if that is there for them to consider, you put him with R.J. Barrett, his old teammate. You put him on a big stage and see if that changes things.
We're keeping R.J. Barrett
Charlotte
now?
is another team. You put him with LaMelo. You have Michael Jordan. He's a Jordan Brand guy. You have to give him places that might wake him up a little bit.
Michael Jordan's thinking about selling the team.
Right. We understand that. And maybe if they got him. Big Perk, I'll give you a final word on Zion. Go.
No, well, 1G, it's not a final word on Zion, but if I was in studio right now, I would get to know Jay Will, and we would be moving some furniture. It would be some furniture moving because he know damn well. He know damn well it's a big difference when it comes down to a player being in college under Coach K and a number 1 pick getting hundreds of millions of dollars. Coach K ain't Coach Zion once he made the big bag. That's a huge difference, Jay Will, and you know that.
It's a huge deal.
Never mind now.
It's a huge deal going into this. Jay Will, ESPN Radio every single morning. Got to get back there. They're yelling at me. What do the Lakers need to do to catch Denver? That segment's not coming up. We're actually in it as we speak. Is there, because here's the thing, and Alan, again, the talk show host mentality, pointed this out to me. the night that they won the championship. I mean, LeBron James tweets about everything that happens in sports.
Always.
He didn't have anything to say about the Nuggets winning.
No, all he had was a Taco Bell promo.
He had his Taco Bell promo.
Which is coincidental since Jokic was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial.
So this suggests to me that there is a real rivalry here and that LeBron James, your buddy over there, Big Perk, is paying close attention. What do you think?
Well, hold on, G. I would like to pump the brakes for a minute. It's not a rivalry, but I will say this. I did notice that LeBron James didn't tweet about the Denver Nuggets, but I also noticed it was a lot of superstars around the league that didn't tweet about the Nuggets. Last year, when Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors won the championship, we saw a lot of players around the league tweeting out about Steph, tweeting about Golden State, tweeting about his performances in the finals. We didn't see that this year. I don't know why, but I want to get to Alan's point about, when he addressed about, Michael Malone and us not talking about the Denver Nuggets. Well, actually, that has to be earned. And you have to complete the mission. It's the same thing with the Memphis Grizzlies when they were complaining about them not having enough national televised games. Well, you have to earn the right to have those national televised games. You have to earn the right for us to talk about you. I'm sorry if we're talking about LeBron James, arguably the greatest player to ever touch the basketball. I'm sorry if we're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most historical franchises in NBA history. You have to earn the right to be talked about. And the Denver Nuggets has done that by completing the mission and winning the NBA championship.
If I can push back, Perk, I'm going to say that the earn part of it, I think they have in the last couple of years, especially Jokic winning 2 MVPs. I would think by now when you have 2 MVPs, you probably have earned the attention of the rest of the country. That's number one. But the rivalry thing, how is there not? You got swept. You got swept out of the playoffs. Now, the margin of victory was 24. It was one of the lowest in a playoff sweep. So we know this was a close series. But if you're LeBron James, you want to get one more ring, don't you? And you're looking at Denver thinking, I don't know if we can beat them.
So what is their plan, Woj, if I may? Let me just get Woj in here. They're all this talk about Kyrie is at the front seat of the games and all that. All these, with the Lakers, all the glitzy stuff always gets thrown around. The reality is, what are they going to do to try and make sure that next time they play the Nuggets, they don't lose 4 straight?
Well, listen, it starts with keeping the players they have. And the 2 young players, one they acquired, Rui Hachimura, in the trade with Washington.
He's good.
And Austin Reeves, who they brought in and have developed. They're both restricted free agents. I think their number one goal is they're not letting either of those 2 out of the building. They're going to match offer sheets for them or see if they can get to an extension on either of them. D'Angelo Russell, can they get to a contract number that makes sense for them as their point guard? Another player they picked up at the trade deadline. And then they've got their exception. They can go out in free agency and get another player who could be helpful. Is Chris Paul going to be available in free agency, whether he gets waived in Phoenix or traded and waived somewhere else as part of another deal? I think staying in Los Angeles, where he's got his home for Chris Paul, the Lakers, the Clippers are going to be prominent in that conversation. But there's no big game hunting out there for this Laker organization. In this league right now, with a new collective bargaining agreement, you can't really have 3 max contracts, 3 superstars, and expect to have any depth on your roster. It's going to look a lot the same, but think about a team next year that goes the entire season with Hachimura, with Reeves as your starter. They've got a chance to be very, very competitive in the West with a healthy LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.